I will tell you different stories. And with these stories, I hope I will answer the question why we are still talking about nagana. What is nagana? Nagana is a common name for African trypanosome. It's an important livestock disease. I'm having a problem with the, okay. Yeah, so nagana is an important disease of livestock. And the disease weakens the immune system of the affected animals. That's why we use the term nagana. Nagana clearly explains. So I was saying, once the animal are infected by nagana, they are completely useless. Yeah. So nagana has been with us since time immemorial. But it's good to ask the question, what did Africans do to control nagana since long time ago? I did a bit of research, and I tried to answer the question, do we have African ancient literature about nagana? I find little evidence on it. But our understanding of nagana started changing since the 1800s. In 1852, David Livingstone, who was a Scottish missionary, he was in the Limpopo and Zambezi River valleys. He noticed something very important. After bites of sassafly, animals died. So he reported this. The link between sassafly and nagana has been known by African communities long before the Europeans' arrival. But missionaries like David Livingstone really amplified it through their writings. So nagana gained the attention of Europeans and the colonial authorities in Africa. But we waited for another 50 years until we established the science. Sir David Bruce, who was a Scottish pathologist and microbiologist, found that nagana is caused by trypanosome parasites. These parasites are transmitted by sassafly. Currently, sassafly infests 10 million kilometers squared in Africa. Over the last 120 years, billions and billions of dollars have been invested on nagana control. But why do I still talk about nagana today? I'm talking about nagana because nagana affected me personally. Let me tell you my stories. I grew up in northeast Ethiopia, in the Wollo province. My village is found in the bank of the Mille River Valley. My father and my grandfather used to have lands in both sides of the river. Our lands are fertile, but they are infested by disease-transmitting vectors, such as mosquitoes, sassaflies. And by the way, from Margaret's presentation, I was infected by Tungiasis myself. Yeah. So when I was 5, I was already a full-fledged shepherd. I looked after cattle, camels, and goats. When I was about 10, we had 40 healthy goats. All of a sudden, a mysterious skin disease came and killed all of our goats. I still remember, and I have a vivid image of that skin disease. That's the one you see on the right in the screen. To make things worse, a local drought came, and our crops failed. What do you do in such terrible situations? My father and my parents sold their oxen to buy food. That was our coping mechanism. After the disease and the drought, life has been a constant struggle in our family. You can imagine in these situations. But my parents gave me an education, an investment that really never fails for someone like me who grew up in rural areas. And I'm really thankful to my parents for giving me education. So I studied economics and specialized in agriculture. My BSc and Masters was at Addis Ababa University, and my PhD at the University of Göttingen in Germany. I was funded by the German Academic Exchange Services. So in my PhD, I studied the impact of stem rust resistant varieties. Stem rust is a disease of wheat, and wheat breeders call this disease a polio of agriculture. You can imagine how crippling this disease is on wheat production. But for some reason, I have never heard of nagana until I started working for CPA and working with Dr. Manala Kase. Dr. Manala Kase is currently my supervisor. He's somewhere here. I'm always thankful for his mentorship and support throughout my career. So I was really curious to know what has happened about nagana in our village. Called my father. We talked about it. My father knew nagana, and he told me the disease comes from a fly that's found in the Mille River Valley. The way he told me was just like David Livingstone reported it in 1852. So the discussion I had with my father reminded me something very important. Indeed, nagana affects our community. Once I started with Dr. Kase, I learned ICP has good sciences and practices to control nagana. At ICP, we have developed integrated vector management tools, such as traps, repellent collars, and diagnostic tools. We have also trained hundreds of young scientists on the integrated sciences of Sese and nagana. To repeat it, integrated sciences of Sese and nagana. And we were successful in controlling nagana and Sese. Sese was reduced by more than 80%. The Sese population was reduced by 8%. And also nagana prevalence was reduced by more than 60%. That was a remarkable achievement for ECP. That's how I began researching on economics of nagana control with ECP scientists and also other scientists outside of. So one of the privileges you get when you work for ECP is that you get the opportunity to visit different communities. So I traveled across Ethiopia and Western Kenya. When I talk to different communities, the first question I ask people is, what are your top challenges? Diseases, including nagana, shortage of live feed, and pests are the most cited challenges mentioned by communities. So the bottom line is, just like my community, nagana is a key challenge to many communities, maybe across Africa. So what I'm telling you is the economic cost of nagana is immensely huge. It's about 5 billion USD per year. So I did a little research, and the 5 billion USD per year was first reported by the British Department for International Development in 1999. I was 15 years old at that time. 26 good years have passed without enabling to control nagana. So over the last 26 years, the cumulative economic cost of nagana is about 130 billion USD. Can you imagine what you can do with this money? Dr. Tinkano, that's a question for you. Maybe you could have built hundreds and thousands of primary schools across Africa. So the socio-economic burden of nagana is deeply troubling, to say the least. That's why we are talking about nagana. If you plan to control nagana, I have 3 messages of hope. Message of hope, number 1, controlling nagana is profitable. We have documented this using in different researches. If you invest, for example, on $1, if you invest $1 in space repellent collar technology, you can get extra $9 due to increase in milk and meat product. And if you also invest on sesafly trap, you can increase the income of farmers. And if you are clever enough, like Dr. Kase and his colleagues, you can combine sesafly trap with other complementary interventions, such as fodder production. And you can triple the income you can give to farmers. Message of hope number 2, controlling nagana boosts rural economy. I am sure you will ask why or how. Yeah, so as I told you earlier, sesafly infests 10 million kilometers square in Africa. We reclaim this land from sesafly. Let's assume you are uncertain about the economic growth impact of nagana. Yeah, so maybe some of us are pessimists and some of us are pragmatists and maybe some of us are very optimistic. So if you are a pessimist, the economic growth impact of controlling nagana cannot be more than 500 USD per kilometer square. And if you are a pragmatist, maybe the maximum you can get from investing in nagana control is 3,300 USD per kilometer square. And if you are an optimist like me, maybe you can get up to 10,000 USD per kilometer square. So now let's do the maths together. You multiply 10 million kilometers square with the economic gains you get from investing in nagana control. So if you are a pessimist, you can earn up to 5 billion USD per year by controlling nagana in Africa. And if you are a pragmatist, you can earn up to 33 billion USD per year by controlling nagana in Africa. Finally, if you are an optimist, you can earn up to 100 billion USD per year by controlling nagana in Africa. So that's how you bring economic growth. Message of hope number 3, controlling nagana is proper. Assume you are a pessimist in the economic growth impact of controlling nagana. Yeah, so you earn only 5 billion USD per year in Africa if you invest in nagana control. So this can translate into poverty reduction as envisaged by the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So when you earn 5 billion USD per year, you can lift up to 11 million people per year above the poverty line. So 11 million people per year is 2% of the 429 million poor people in Africa. That's a remarkable achievement if you can do it. So finally, I have one question for you. Is there anything you can offer for nagana control? Maybe you have a political leverage. Maybe you have money. Maybe you have innovations. Maybe you have also combined all of them. I leave the answers to you. But I want to invite you. Let's invest in nagana control and empower rural people. Thank you very much.